Today, we're looking at Krishna's Sailor. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Sailor is a very vivid blue ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Noodler's Ahab with a modified flex nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we go to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done, and what we see is that this is a true prime blue. That blue pushes its way up and just gets darker as it makes its way up the paper, but it's just blue. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the bottom line looks slightly darker, very slightly, but not ridiculously. In fact, you could easily confuse this for an original chromatography if they weren't right next to each other. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, the amount of blurriness that's occurring on the capital H and the I, even the top of the G, I don't feel safe using this in a note-taking situation. There's just too much movement of this ink given that highlighter. Now, water is reactivating and lifting this ink off the page, and you see a spot on the right side where the white of the paper is just beginning to come through. Now, that was only 30 seconds that this ink was there, or the water was there. I really do think with a little bit more time, water will take this ink completely out of your pen. When it comes to pen flush, those other colors there are me being sloppy. It's a transfer from the paper towel. It's not a part of this ink. But pen flush does more than water did. You start to see more of the white of the paper coming through. If for some reason water was not enough, pen flush will definitely do it, getting this ink out of your pen. 1/3 bleach solution, as is common, is completely removing it from the paper, but there's no need to use that to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Sailor has a viscosity of 1.92, making it a wetter ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Krishna's Sailor has an average dry time of 20 seconds. So while it was very wet, it takes a long time to dry in comparison. It's still a normal dry time, high side of normal, but a long time considering how wet this ink was. Now let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form when I ordered a whole bunch of bottles from them, and my only complaint for them is I wish the bottles were a little more user-friendly. You quickly, as I've experienced with this one, because in order to fill a pen from this now, I have to put it into something else like a sample vial to really be able to get it, because the bottle's so shallow and the neck is so small that you put it in a larger pen, some of your larger vac fillers, and this is a problem. But the color of this ink is absolutely amazing. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. It is a gorgeous blue. Look at that. It is nice. It jumps off the page and it is not obnoxious. Just really amazing to look at. The extra fine is the exact same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine, the medium and the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could probably recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. We get no bleeding. Of course we get ghosting. That's okay. For those that love it, they don't mind the ghosting. That's all I can say. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 19 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect any and we didn't get any. In the smear test, I don't think you could recover this. And it's such a beautiful blue. Rhodia. Now that's not a bleed spot. That's from the page underneath. It has no bleeding, no ghosting. Knocking my papers all around. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 13 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 20 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both the extra fine and the medium show no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and the smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. This is P. Berger. It's a student French ruled paper, and it did not like this paper, or this ink. There's a significant amount of bleeding. It did touch the page underneath. It does make the back of this paper unusable. The 1.1, it's funny because with all that bleeding, you would expect really horrible performance all the way through. And it's not so bad, despite some of the things I'm about to say about it. It's not so bad. The 1.1 has no spread. It has tiny little feathers all over, but it's not unreadable. It's not blurry. It's just knowing it's there. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no spread, but it has tiny feathers all over it. No halo, no sheen, no shade. 4 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. The medium has some spread, feathering all over it. Tiny feathers all over it, like in all of this writing. It's tiny feathers all over the place. It's especially bad when we look at the 6 seconds or in the G of the dog. It is especially bad there. But on the majority, it's tiny feathers all over. And if this is just practice, it's probably not the end of the world, other than it is touching the page underneath. The medium has no halo, sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none. And the smear test, you could not recover this. You couldn't. It's gone. So this is Levenger paper, and Levenger paper gives us no bleeding and no ghosting. I love Levenger paper, just not the rulings they put down. Come on, Levenger, make your pages blank. I love blank paper. It's my preference, but something other than these tiny little lines. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading. Beautiful shade of blue. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In a smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. And I don't think I've mentioned it, but this is that boring ink that I love to find. It is so predictable. On all of these papers, it is beautiful. I know exactly what I'm going to get no matter what nib I use, even if I use it in a slightly flexy nib. Same tone all the time. This is hazel paper. Now, when I ordered my ink from Krishna, I got it and it came in, these notebooks, the Noonday Brocade Pocket Book. This is very toothy paper, very toothy, but it is really good because it's been performing truly spectacular. The hazel paper has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread,
halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. The medium has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, and no shade. 9 seconds to dry. Little long for a walk-around notebook, but I don't know that, this is the right ink to walk around and jot notes into a pocket notebook just because of its bleed on some of the, where's it at? Unlike the P. Berger. So if you're carrying a better notebook, this is going to be perfectly good. If you're carrying a cheaper notebook, don't do it. I did not test this on moleskin, so I don't know what it does there. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none. In a smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's sailor, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted a nice orange because this is such a screamingly vivid blue. I chose Robert Oster's Tangerine. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's Sailor? A tone of blue doesn't seem to come along like this very often. It is so loud and so screaming and vivid. It demands attention on the page. It's not going to destroy your pens. This is a beautiful blue that does not need shade or sheen to make it stand out. Now, as someone that loves shading in ink, I don't need this to shade to really enjoy using this ink. And I've used quite a bit of that bottle. It might be gone by the time this video's aired. This is beautiful. I wish it was easier to get and more cost-effective to get a hold of, but this is a gorgeous blue. If you like blue inks, you really need to be willing to go out of your way to give this one a shot. Thanks for watching.